What up, everybody? Hopefully y'all can hear me. Can you all hear me? I do believe that we are live. So, well, hey guys, big milestone on the channel. We hit 15,000 subscribers, so that's exciting. Thank you all for all of you that subscribe, and for those of you that don't, I don't like you anymore. So. Anyways, I figured we could get a start here just talking about what everybody's doing with your sequester. We're not allowed to say certain words here on YouTube anymore, so we're just going to call it, how do I put it, our sequester. But hopefully you all are, what are you doing to pass your time? I see somebody saying no whiteboard. I've stopped doing the whiteboard for live streams, mainly because, how do I put this? I don't want to use up all my good content on the live streams, and I figured you should all be paying attention to me. The whiteboard is my subtle way of, during my live videos, to be the smartass that I normally am. So yeah, that's what that is. So, how are you all doing? If you don't mind hitting the like button on the video, that is super helpful for the YouTube algorithm when it comes to these live videos. So if you guys can do that, that is awesome. And so, well, hey Eric, welcome to the first live stream. Apparently, a certain website has had a surge. I would not doubt that at all. I would actually argue probably a lot of websites have had a surge here lately. So. A lot of people are spending some time, which brings me to one other thing. And I'll say this, you guys may not need me to tell you this, but if you are in a position where you are not really financially affected by everything that's going on, like obviously there's a lot of lives at stake and, you know, health dangers here, but I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of financial anxiety right now. You're largely unaffected financially. Look out in your community and around you for those that maybe are. There's a lot of folks that are small business owners or were employed by a small business that are going to be struggling here in the near future. And any support that you can give is helpful. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that, but just know you're not alone if you're one of those people struggling right now. And so, but yeah, you know, all of that talk aside, we get enough from the news. So I figured this will be a great distraction and we can talk about the Wheel of Time. So there's been, I've had a couple videos that have come out lately that I've been getting a lot of comments about. A lot of people did not agree with my most powerful characters video. There was a lot of disagreement, I should say, on the ranking order and maybe even my ranking system. So I tried to be really succinct, I should say, in terms of creating my rubric to understand kind of what I was trying to grade there with that. And it gave some surprising results, but actually I feel like in the end it worked out. So I'm curious, for those of you that did disagree with me on that, where specifically did you disagree? Was it the system of, was it the rubric itself? Was it how I applied it? Very interested to hear what you all think of that. I'll try to hit on some comments here too. Daniel Lobo, 15K. I was here when it was less than 100. Yeah, man, you're one of the OGs. Appreciate you being there from the beginning. And there's a lot of you that I recognize that I've seen a lot. Lene Line, I always say your name wrong, so hopefully I'm not saying it again wrong, but she says she loved the rubric. Of course, she's all about the rubrics. So I'll probably do that some more as it goes. The wheel reads, so Bella was not on the list. You're right, because I didn't want to put... Badger says, I think the rubric itself for me was problematic, only because when comparing power, should also be hand-to-hand combat, should really be half as important as authority over a great nation. Sure. You know, and I think maybe the scale could be different there, but also think about this. Let's take someone like Slayer. Slayer it doesn't control anything, but hand-to-hand combat could play a large role because he could frankly take out a ruler. I mean, that's Obviously, he can do that because of his power outweighs it. So I felt like it needed some consideration. I think I could agree with the fact that it may or may not be scaled properly. Alan, thank you, man. Love your channel. My internet has been acting slower because of the increasing usage. I'm glad to see all my YouTubers still doing videos. Yeah, and hopefully, so guys, as of like an hour ago, Ohio, where I live, just got locked down. So we're not going to be going anywhere. And so, yeah, I'm going to be trying to do some work from home. We're going to be, so I work in financial services. That's the type of company I own. And we're struggling right now because a lot of my employees, a lot of my own, we do a lot of our sales face-to-face with clients. And so we can't do that right now. We're not even allowed to leave our homes here in Ohio. So we're trying to pioneer and figure out some ways to do telesales or video stuff. And so, hey, the other part of that is I'm going to be around here. And what I've been really doing, like this last week, I put a lot of work in on the website on some various maps. Got a couple videos written, which is always the longer part for me. So my next video will be a news video, a news update video. It's been a while since I've done one of those. And then I'm going to do some character analysis videos. The website is coming along, guys. I'm pretty excited for where we're going to be with that and what it's going to be for. And I did put I was telling everybody, we hit our goal. So like we hit the fundraising goal, which was awesome. And I appreciate everybody that contributed to that. I'm still leaving the GoFundMe up for now. It's actually in the link to the video here. And the reason for that is I know there's a lot of people that wanted, what I'm doing with anybody that donates to that is they're going to get a credit on the website. So it'll show them and that'll be there forever. So I guess I'll say this with the website because I want to clarify this a little bit. The intention with the website is absolutely 100% not to replace anything that exists. In fact, websites like Theoryland or Dragon Mount or anything like that, this is not meant to duplicate those functions. And so I always want to be very clear about that because I know a lot of people feel like, well, why are you doing that if we've already got... Here's my rationale and here's my purpose, guys. There's still a ton of people that are not aware. It's actually crazy because I find these people all the time, but are not even aware that the Wheel of Time is being made into a TV show. They're not aware that there's Wheel of Time content on YouTube. They're not aware that there are Wheel of Time podcasts and Wheel of Time Dungeons and Dragons games and Wheel of Time quizzes and trivia and all of those different things. And so because of that and artwork, and right now a lot of people don't use YouTube or don't use podcasts or anything like that. What they do is they Google. And so right now if you Google Wheel of Time, it comes up with various things, but it doesn't bring up content. So you might not even know it exists. And so the thought process behind that and the why we're doing it in the first place is to connect. I was explaining this to somebody earlier. Think of the website as like a traffic cop or an airline guy that does this stuff. I don't even know what that's called. But the purpose is to be able to post content from various creators and try to connect the community in a way that we're being able to send people to financially support this podcast that you like listening to or highlight an episode of theirs. And then link that with a wiki. So if somebody did a podcast on Egwene, if there was a wiki then that you could link from that to explain further information, to get more content, that is the reason that this exists. And so that's what we're doing with it. That's really the thought process. That's why we're building on it. And I think it should be exciting because it'll also offer a couple things that don't exist right now. And there's going to be a huge influx of Wheel of Time people. I mean, I see Daniel Green popping in the channel. Well, first of all, let me answer your question. Who would I vote for president, Logain or Land? Totally Land. I trust Land more than Logain. So that's an easy one. But I was going to say people like Daniel Green are doing an absolute awesome job of bringing people outside of the Wheel of Time community into it. And so using a platform like his, where he's got quite an audience right now. Hey, Daniel. By the way, we're locked down, man. So hopefully you're not going to go too stir crazy with your cat, but you're not even allowed to leave your house now. But I was going to say, so, but there's going to be a lot of new people coming in. And so to have a place where we can kind of plug people in that's spoiler free, that's all that, that's the concept. And that's why I'm excited to get it done. So hopefully you all are as excited as I am for that. So Logain is just better. Okay, so I like Logain as a character. I never really trusted Logain. I still am not... I'm still not sure that Logain is like he made a good decision at the end, but I'm not completely sure that he would continue to make good decisions. Just because he's powerful, does that mean that he's a good leader? I don't know about that. I don't know that I think Logain's a great leader. You're telling me you would rather follow Logain than Lan? Daniel, what is your answer to that question? Maybe I missed it. Who would you pick? So I'll wait for Daniel's answer because you guys are like a couple behind me. But so throw out, hey, let's talk a bit of Wheel of Time. I know you guys are throwing around some trivia questions here. I think Cadsuane would eat Logain for dinner. I'm one of the few people that likes Cadsuane. I like her a lot, actually. I think she's interesting. Now, she's obviously she's representative of everything wrong with the Aes Sedai in terms of their cockiness or their complacency about how they treat people and their placement above others. But yet she validates it in a way that most of the other Aes Sedai do not. She is as competent as she comes across. It's not just an act for her. So I like Cadsuane. Lan is too... Well, see, yeah, I know you don't like Lan, but I don't know why you would like Logain either. Daniel, I still have not seen, maybe I'm missing it, Daniel Green. What your thought? Would you rather follow Lan or Logain? You don't like Cadsuane. That's interesting. Matt Cawthon for president. Oh, boy. Lan only cares about his people while Logain shows that he can lead. Lan is forced to lead and doesn't demonstrate doing it incredibly well. Lan kind of falls into that reluctant leader category, though, right? Like, he doesn't want the power. Logain does. Does that make a difference? Like, do reluctant leaders, like Perrin is a reluctant leader, does that make Perrin a better leader than, let's say, I think Egwene, for instance? Egwene wanted power because she felt like she was the best one to exercise it. So do you feel like is Egwene a better leader than Perrin? Are they just different? Or is one of them better than the others? Thoughts? I agree that some of the best leaders are the ones that don't want it. So, yeah, and also reluctant leaders aren't always good. Maybe they don't want the leadership because they're insecure. I'm not sure that Lan is insecure. I do think that there's a whole lot of toxic masculinity getting in the way there, but that's very much the Wheel of Time world. I don't know that that's necessarily explicitly what she sought, but I do think I think her line of thinking for here's a way I would put it. I would make Egwene, if you guys wanted to follow like Myers-Briggs, I would peg Egwene as like an ENTJ. She believes that she should be in charge because she believes she's the most capable. So that's where I see Egwene. And there's times where she's wrong, right? Like Egwene gets put in her place a couple times where she's assumptive in like regards to like Perrin showing her up in the World of Dreams, for instance. And she was shocked by that. So there's a couple examples of that, but on the whole, Egwene typically is the most capable person in the room. And so I would argue that Perrin would make a terrible president. I agree with that too. I think Perrin would make a terrible president, but nevertheless, Perrin is a Taviran, and that helps. Stubble, what do you think is the first and last scene of season 1? I think the first scene of season 1 is going to be Tam and Rand on the road. And I think the last scene of season 1 has got to be some. I still do not think that we're going to see much of season 2 or book 2 in season 1. I think that I think we're going to be ending the season on a little bit more of a figuring out what the heck is going on, flashbacky type deal. So I'll get into that in a further video because I do this. I'm reading some tea leaves here. So last season, Badger thinks it will be Min and Shamai have a quiet conversation before Min heads back inside a house in Falmouth and smiles at Nynaeve. Oh gosh, that would be you really are on board with this Min as a dark friend thing, which she's clearly not, but would be really interesting. INTJ, huh? I could see that. I just I still get the ENTJ. She's got the commander vibe to her, which is a little bit more ENTJ. I'm an ENTJ, so I can kind of I can kind of see it as much as Myers-Briggs actually is valid and not. But Daniel, I don't want a hesitant, insecure leader. I want a really decisive president with a good heart is best. I would argue, though, that Perrin becomes decisive when it's time to be decisive. And I would argue Perrin typically does what's right with a good heart. That's probably a good question. Who is the best leader in the story, in your opinion? And I think a lot of that's going to come down to how you internally define leadership, because I think there's a lot of ways that people view leadership, and a lot of that is because of the leaders that you've followed. So, like, somebody might look at Cadsuane and say she's a great leader. Somebody might look at Egwene and say that she's a better leader, or that Swan was a good leader, and it's easy to find the flaws in those things as well. So, who is the best leader, and why do you think that? That's more of what I would want to know. Why do you think that she's a good leader? Full discussions that happened in the Dusty Wheel the other night, but welcome, Dana. And yes, thank you. If you guys do hit the like button, that really helps them. Best leader to me is Demon Dread. Interesting. Explain what you mean by that, John. Tell me why you think that. Gareth Bryn. Best leader, Egwene. I had no idea you would pick Egwene. Not at all. Aiel clan chiefs are great. No communication BS. I would argue, I would agree with that. I think the Aiel clan chiefs, and actually the Aiel in general, I really enjoy the wise ones. I enjoy them a lot. I think sometimes there's a little bullying. And actually, so this is why I brought up the question about whether or not how you define leadership, because I think a lot of the lens that you view how people, like what makes somebody a good leader, for instance, is viewed through a different lens. I would argue Robert Jordan comes from a military background, and there's a lot of command. You do what I say. My leadership style is defined by how strong my convictions are. And so you see that in a lot of the characters that I think he wants to elevate to be good leaders, right? I think Iturralda is an amazing leader. I think that guy inspires people around him. He's intelligent. He's brilliant. I would argue I think Egwene is a good leader. Just like everybody, she's got her flaws, but I think Egwene is a great leader. The bad leaders are, in my opinion, see, again, leadership is influence. I love Amis. I think Amis is an outstanding leader. Believe it or not, as much as I don't like her, I actually think Matt, interestingly enough, is a decent leader. Matt has a lot of influence on those around him, but you really can't think of anybody that you know that's like Matt. I would challenge you to think of somebody that's Matt. I can think of people that are kind of like Perrin or kind of like Rand. Matt is not just your typical rogue character. Like, he doesn't fit that stereotype totally. So he's an interesting character to me. I think that's why Brandon Sanderson actually had trouble writing him, because guys, is everybody, I see people mentioning he switched my